Awesome, awesome. My name is Hensei Kuala. I'm going to share a little bit about myself tonight, and then afterwards, if anyone else would like to share, that would be awesome. So I'm a first-generation immigrant from Liberia. I grew up in Minnesota. In the 8th grade, I broke my arm playing pound hockey. In elementary school, I would stay up late eating strawberry Pop-Tarts, reading Harry Potter while listening to T-Pain, I'll buy you a drink. So now, anytime Buy You a Drink comes on, I swear I'm like taken back to the corridors of Hogwarts. It's crazy. Now, I have a question real quick. Has anyone here taken the Pottermore test? You know what that is? Yeah. Yeah? What house did you get? Slytherin. Slytherin? Yeah. You?
Hufflepuff.
Hufflepuff? Interesting. I'm also Slytherin, but I'm not evil or anything. I'm just a Gemini. So Now, would anyone else like to share about themselves? Nobody? Well, no biggie. So, according to Dr. David Ritchie, an associate dean here at the University of Texas, Dallas, the new generation entering the workforce today are frequently different and diverse. Organizations should celebrate differences and explore the variety of talents, perspectives, and backgrounds of employees. Also, the benefits of diversity, according to Kim McGraw, recording analyst at Glassdoor, includes increased innovation, creativity. McGraw states that teams that include workers from different backgrounds and experiences can come up with more creative ideas and methods of solving problems, and that successful companies create internal programs, resources, and networking groups that support diversity. That is why we are developing Engage, a tool that solves the problem of the lack of engaging conversations and encourages us to celebrate our diversity using conversations within the workplace. So, tonight we'll be going over what Engage does for you and how to utilize this tool, which includes being human, simplifying your message, giving an incentive, and tell a story. We'll also have an activity sprinkled throughout. But first, I would like to introduce my team here. Our team will be introducing themselves, starting with...
Hi, I'm Nibi Nataraj, and I'm the CEO of Engage.
Hi, I'm Luis Ramirez, and I'm the CTO of Engage.
I'm Lynn Ngo, an SEO director.
I'm Tan Nguyen, the CEO of Engage.
Now, before we get started with the presentation, I know maybe kind of was prepping it earlier. Now, I want all you guys to stand up, and now we're going to be forming groups of 4 to 5 based on visual similarities. Yeah, I said that. So based on same gender, hair color, male, female, groups of 4 to 5 based on visual similarities. So people you feel like look similar to you or have similar features. So everybody stand up. Everybody stand up. Stand up.
We got our curls going.
I know.
So you guys, take a seat. So you guys are now going to be sitting down in those spots there. So take a seat in that spot.
Yeah, we're going to do working groups.
You all 3 there. All 3. Awesome. Okay. Everybody's good? Okay. We will be coming back to this later on in the presentation. But now I'll be passing it off to Luis to talk more about how you can be in.
Thank you, Jesse, for the introduction. Hello everyone. So here, our main goal at Engage is to connect people, to connect employees through the Engage tool to increase productivity. And so we know that social media and technology is changing the way that we interact and we communicate. Dr. Lin Wu, in her journal, tells social network effects on productivity and job security. Evidence from the adoption of social networking tool explains how implementing a social networking tool increments the productivity. So these are our tools or tips, suggestions to when you use our tool, Engage. And the first thing is to be human. Now, one problem that we can face is to pretend to be perfect. So there's nothing bad with wanting to give a good impression, but just don't go to the other side of like pretend to be perfect or to be pretentious or to pretend to know it all. Because we all know that we all have areas of improvement. So the solution for this is to be transparent and ask for help when you need to ask for help. So just show your human side. Another problem could be focusing on what you get instead of what you can give to other people. So when you share information, keep an eye in the audience. Keep in mind the audience and ask the question, how this information can benefit the audience. Another topic could be sounding boring. So sometimes we share information that could be important, but this is sometimes boring itself. So the solution to this is to add a little bit of, to incorporate humor. So it helps a lot when you maybe add a comment or a paragraph or a funny story to what you want to say, because it also shows your human side and it gives the opportunity to other people to relate to you. And lastly, make sure to not portray an apathetic attitude. So for this, the solution that you can do is just go ahead and share a personal information or share a story. So when you share a story, you can people can relate to you on a deeper level. And for example, so when Mohammed shared his story about the cultural differences between Egypt and the U.S. and how he explained how in Egypt, when you look at people, when you don't look at people in the eyes, it shows it's a sign of respect. And we know here in the U.S. it's quite the opposite. When you talk to someone here in the U.S., you need to look them in the eyes. So when he shared this story, I felt connected because I have also experienced cultural differences. Now, for the story is about cultural differences, and so a little bit of background. So I'm from Mexico City, and I met my wife in Mexico City. She is white, and she's the only one that speaks Spanish in her family. So you can see like the difference in cultures here. And so when we got married, the big celebration was in Mexico. So it was about 200 people, and it lasted about 8 hours. And most people were having fun and dancing, and so it was really good. It was a good celebration. And then a month after that, I moved to the U.S. and we have a celebration here in the U.S. So the type of celebration was a come and go. So this was new for me because come and go is usually like last 2 hours. It's like open house. So when we had this, it was just 2 hours, and it was about 50 people at the most. So I'm not saying that one is the best. One is better than the other, but it's usually different. And to be honest, being me, being Mexican, it was hard for me to grasp the concept of come and go. Like how people would just come and just like live like within half hour, an hour, or maybe stay in 2 hours. I'm sure that some people spend more time in the commute than at the time of the party. So I was able to see that difference and some other differences. So I was able to see these differences, and the takeaway for this story is that by understanding, by applying empathy and trying to have a better understanding or deeper understanding to the culture, I was able to overcome those differences. And by overcoming these differences in my personal life, also at work, and also here at school, I was able to build stronger relationships, and also I was able to appreciate and understand more the different cultures and also diversity in general. So now I'm going to pass the time to Henry. He's going to explain the activity.
Okay, thank you, Luis, for demonstrating, the importance of showing your humanity. Also, beautiful, beautiful wedding pictures of kids there. Thank you for that. Now, for the middle part of the activity, now you can complete the personality test there. So I'll let you guys to start working on the personality test. It'll be a couple of minutes, and then afterwards we're gonna score. There's a score sheet on the back, and we're gonna be coming back to it later on at the end of the presentation there. They can go ahead and start.
Do you have a personality?
Questions? Did we fill out the whole thing, or did we just do that section?
Have about a minute and a half left. So, we'll be coming back to this later on at the end of the presentation. Now, I'll be passing it off to Libby, how to simplify your message.
Thank you, Lindsay. What's the point of being smart if nobody understands what you have to say? While about 2/3 of graduates believe that they know how to speak and write clearly, only about 1/4 of the people who hire them agree, according to a survey by the National Association of Colleges and Employers. Some schools at UTD have actually implemented programs to combat that, like BCOM classes. But Vanderbilt, the University of Virginia, and Fordham have taken unique methods to fix the problem, going further than just BCOM classes. Some solutions are requiring their business school students to take acting classes, do stand-up comedy shows, or do mock newscasts in front of actual news reporters and have them judge them. So today, I'm going to be sharing with you 4 tips on how to simplify your message in order to have more engaging conversations. First, by cutting out unnecessary jargon and complicated language, you can help people understand your message better. Either clearly define a term or just eliminate it. For example, actionable, bottom of funnel, buy-in, circle back, close the loop, commoditize. These are just few examples of the jargon, gibberish, and acronyms that clog the arteries of commerce, confuse customers, and alienate the potential audience. We opt for needlessly complex words such as utilize when we mean use, or phrases such as optimize bottom of funnel efficiencies when we just mean close more deals faster. By clearly defining a term or just eliminating it, you can make it easier for the person you're having the conversation to understand you better. Second, when you have a complicated subject to discuss, something you to do is compare and contrast the intricate subject with something well known. How is it similar? How is it different? Verify that your analogies are accurate, and if so, they're a great way to explain the concept to your audience. Third, I know I felt this while preparing for this presentation, but do you ever feel worried about overwhelming the audience because you can't figure out how to weave all of these ideas into one coherent message? Well, what you need to do is take a step back and isolate this one simple question. Ignore what it is, figure out what it is you want the audience to take away, and then focus on that one point. And finally, this seems the most obvious, but it's actually very hard for most people to do, is to cut away the clutter in order to not overcomplicate your message. In their book, The 5 Elements of Effective Thinking, Edward B. Berger and Michael Starbard suggest that you should consider a subject that you wish to understand and clear the clutter until you've isolated one essential ingredient. Basically, consider a subject and do what we're doing in this class. Pare it down to one theme in order to tie the message more effectively. For example, when giving instructions to people, don't overcomplicate it. Don't overload them with too many steps that they forget what they're supposed to do, or don't over-explain it. If they have any questions, let them come back and ask you and keep the conversation going. There's a nuance there that will take time and practice to figure out. I try to practice my tips every day with my grandparents. That's my grandfather, my grandmother, and my other grandfather. They live in India, and I'm lucky enough to be able to talk to them regularly. However, we still face a cultural barrier all the time. I have a tough time explaining my work in classes to them because it's so different from what they've grown up with. For example, I'm a supply chain major. First of all, it's complicated to even understand for everybody in this class, and we've all at least heard about it in some way or fashion in this building. Imagine how hard it would be for them to understand such a new and niche field. So I could give them a textbook explanation, and for this I'm going to look down and read it to you because I myself can't memorize this. Supply chain management is the active management of supply chain activities to maximize customer value and achieve a sustainable competitive advantage. Their activities cover everything from product development, sourcing, production, logistics, as well as all the information systems needed to coordinate these activities. Now that's a whole mouthful. So what I did was, 1, I eliminated the jargon. 2, I created easy to understand analogies. 3, I simplified my thoughts and started with the right question first. What do I want them to get away from this? And 4, I reduced the clutter in my message. So what I ended up saying was supply chain management is about getting the right product to the right people in the right place at the right time, all in the most efficient way possible. Wasn't that so much easier to understand? As the conversation went on, they asked more questions to understand more. But if I'd said the most complicated way first, they would have been turned off and then they would have just not asked anymore, not been interested at all. But this way we kept the conversation going and they understand what I'd study and what I will be doing in the future. So now I'll hand it off to Thang to talk about giving the audience an incentive to listen.
Thank you, Nivi. How's everyone doing today?
Good.
Okay, so now we know how to make a conversation easy to read and easy to understand. But at first, you have to let people to get engaged in the conversation before even you guys keep the conversation simple and easy. Let me ask you guys this question. Imagine you guys were sitting in class right now doing personality test, your professor right there, and someone just came in and told you guys, hey, you guys need to get out of the room right now. What you gonna do? You wouldn't take that serious, right? However, if that person say that, hey, the JSON is on fire right now, you guys need to get out of the room right now, what would you guys do? You would get out right away, right? So what is the difference between two scenarios? Different is the second one, there was a more consequence. You guys know there's a consequence after if you guys don't take action, because you guys know that if you guys don't take it out, things gonna get bad really fast. We live in a society right now where technology was over the place. Every single day, we see a tons of message and information. It doesn't have to be a physical conversation, but also like electronic, from example, email, Facebook, text message, etc. So what our brain usually do is that our mind can only process so much information at a certain point until it's reached its limit, and which result in we just subconsciously create a mental filter and block out all the irrelevant information that we think is not important for us at all, which leads to the point where we become less pay attention and we don't care about other information, but our brain think that it's not very important. Personally, I don't know about you guys, but like whenever I receive a message on email from someone that I know that's not very important, I would tend to like wait to respond later, and I really procrastinate right to the very last minute, even with my parents. It's kind of bad. However, if I know that that person, that email or that text message was from my work or from my boss, I would immediately get on it and like try to open the email and try to respond right away, because I know if I don't do it, I might get fired. So how do we solve or minimize the lack of engagement in the conversation? First, we have to determine the importance of the conversation. Give the conversation a good sense of purpose and useful to the listener, otherwise they won't even listen to, or they may listen to it, but then they would forget later on right away. Next, right after that is assess yourself first, putting yourself into the listener perspective and ask yourself a question, hey, would I even bother to listen to this topic of the conversation, or we just gonna ignore it later? Thirdly is creating an urgency or like a dilemma. So before even getting started the conversation, we should just give them the consequence first. So now, if the audience doesn't know like the importance of the conversation, they won't even bother to listen to at all. And last thing is keep it simple and cut to the chase. The longer the conversation, the easier for the audience to lose lost in the middle of the conversation. One personal story, I remember like a years ago when I took one of my class, and on the first day of this class, my professor came in and he just told us to shut up all of your laptop and turn off your cell phone right away. Otherwise, your grades gonna get deducted right away. So immediately everyone was just like, oh snap! So and everyone just like turn off their cell phone and close the laptop and just pay attention to it right away. Next thing he said that you guys may gonna hate me like right now, but then you guys gonna test me later in the future because this class is gonna be a really tough one. So everyone would just everyone would be like, because no one want to have a bad grade, so everyone would listen to him very carefully, every section, and from there. So on the next slide, we have a short video clip from the show Office to show you guys how choosing a wrong communication tool can affect the audience attention in the conversation.
And the same thing goes for quarterly reports. They are unreadable. They're just numbers and boring and blah. So what I was thinking is that maybe we should have some sort of graphic, like if we have a bad quarter, put in a storm cloud. And when we have a good quarter, fireworks, or a race car. Doesn't have to be a race car. Use your imagination.
There's this cube on the screen. It bounces around all day, and sometimes it looks like it's heading right into the corner of the screen, and then at the last minute, it's a wall bounces away. And you're all just dying to see it go right into the corner. Pam claims that she saw it one day when she was alone in the conference room. Okay. I believe she thinks she saw it.
I saw it. I saw it, and it was amazing. Who said I didn't see it? Did Jim say that I didn't see it? I saw it.
We have a lot of colored paper here. Why oh why do we keep printing this on white? Ah, come on! Yeah. I know. I know, it's bland.
It's never gonna happen. You gotta believe.
Maybe we could have some sort of riddle. Like something that you have to look for. Sort of a where's Waldo? Oh! All right, let's quit while we're ahead. That was so awesome. That was awesome. Thank you. And some days I am just on fire.
Okay, so you can notice that during this video, during that meeting, everyone just pay attention to the logo instead of the guy who's speaking right over there. So, which leads to my next point is how visual can affect the engagement of the conversation. And I'm going to ask Lily to talk about that.
Thank you, Tang. Now I would like to ask you all questions. Would you like attend a movie or a meeting? Movie. Yeah, 99% of the people would prefer to go to the movie. Why?
It's fun.
Yeah, because movie had nothing to do with your life, right? In a meeting, you can speed up and make a decision. Why do you choose to go to the movie? Because I think the most reason is the movie contains something that meeting doesn't do. That is produce a story, expect conflict, implement an action plan, and contribute a resolution. And a good communication contain those as well. According to the author Daniel Pink, we live in an increasing right-brain world, so people rely on an imagination and a story more than they do in the facts and the fingers. They want to live in the life, like a story, and have a great soundtrack to go along with it. And a great storytelling is the most powerful skill you can learn. To get attention out there, the more you tell the honest story, the more the story make easier to make connection. The most people who have the most influence on the planet is the good storytellers. Teachers use them to convey the most important point. Comedians use them to make us laugh, and companies use them to sell us the product. And the politicians use them to campaign and take power. Are you guys agree with me? Thank you. And science has repeatedly shown that people have attracted to the image. So take advantage of that fact by including the media throughout your post. So I would like to tell you guys my story about my SEO. How I got my post ranked on the top description. Back to the 2015, when I first built my website, it's just a blogging, contain the blank text. So it didn't appear on the search result at all, and not many visitors to visit. So I decided to learn SEO by myself. So then I do the research, and they show that, did you know that only 10% of the people would only remember the text they read? By contrast, the video viewer will contain 95% of the video misses. And they spend, when they visit the website, they only have 15 seconds to make the decision. If you didn't engage them, they will leave. So by placing a video on my landing page, I built engagement, informative, and user-friendly. It captured the visitor attention when they visit. On the video, I explained the benefit on my website and the action the viewer should take next, because the thing keep advanced and keep changing. So I added to give visitor to get more involved by leaving the comments and feedbacks, participating in the poll and quiz, playing a game, communication on the forums. This make a difference on my site performance. As we can see, the videos is key to building a stable relationship. However, not all videos will do that. Based on the research of Lindsay B. and for 2017, the elements that make engaging story applicable in the writing and speech or emotional music, the key questions, story, sense of fun, and the colorful pictures. So recognize the power of the video. You will be ability to be involved, appealing to your viewers at deep emotional level. So the key to find a balance with the audience will realize is while you're getting your message across, the audience enjoy your video and they feel emotional and they will connect with your brand. That's the key right there. So now I will passing to Hansei, so let him continue with our activities.
Thank you, Lynn, for demonstrating how to effectively use visual content and media. Now for the final part of the activity. So now you guys have now completed grading everything. They're scoring the highest. Now, okay, I want you guys to get up. Last time everyone begin up. Everybody stand up, stand up. So you're gonna look around the room on the walls now. There are 4 signs: the mover, planner, thinker, and connector. Now I want you guys to move into the spot that you have the highest score. Just hover in that spot. The spot that you have the highest score. You guys look at that spot.
So you choose. So right now you can choose because you the art Awesome. We have one.
Okay, so you're not even one of us. No.
Okay, so now you guys will see now you guys are in slightly different groups. So the reason why we did this activity was to first, we got you guys into small groups to first stimulate, how it is to be in a minority group. 4 to 5 typically is small. And then we connect you guys into larger groups, merge the groups into, larger groups there. Now you guys are seeing around that, a little bit different people in your group there. The reason why we did this was to emphasize that despite our perceived similarities, despite our perceived differences, we all share a common similarity there. If